Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar Ashram. We were fortunate to offer the Nama flowers at the lotus feet of Bhagwan once again today. Bhagwan is entering everybody's place. Just imagine. One had to come all the way to have darshan of Bhagwan here. Now Bhagwan is visiting everybody's house, giving darshan and the opportunity to witness the puja. And what's more, right in the presence of his shrine, we're all able to sing together. What could we ask for more? It is unthinkable in the circumstances, but for the technology. We have to celebrate this grace that's pouring from Bhagwan for making it possible. The yantras, the machines work, but who is the operator? Let us acknowledge the supremacy of his intelligence that is working through various sources to make life as comfortable as possible in the circumstances. We have been having glimpses of Bhagwan's life and his spiritual ministry in the lives of his devotees. We shall continue our journey in the Himalayas with one more episode. People would have heard of Mukti Nath. It's about 12,300 feet high, situated in Nepal, near the Gandaki River. There is a mythological story, a puranic story behind it. This place, this temple, is a temple of Lord Vishnu. It is in pagoda style, not a very big temple. And this is holy for two religions, Hindu and the Buddhist. The story behind it is Jalandar, a Rakshasa, an evil king, was indulging in all kinds of sins, adharmic activities, and people were suffering extremely. no matter how much the gods tried, he was invincible. And he could not be killed. And they found out the secret. His wife, Brinda, was extremely devoted to him. A pativrata, that is, the women of India, the married women of India, the ancient rishis had given a prompt, suitable role to everyone in the household. And when they played it to the full, they need not do any other tapas. Each one's role in the household is itself, in itself, tapas. That is, connected with God. Now this pativrata, the one who was very devoted to her husband, was all the time thinking of his welfare. And she was doing puja after puja, remembering Lord Mahavishnu. And because of her, all the time she was praying for the life of her husband. Her bhakti was pure, and her faithfulness to her husband was divine. So much so, the devatas found it impossible to kill this man, and they appealed to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, the god of destruction, found it very hard to beat this man in the war. And of course he knew the secret. It is his wife Brinda's devotion to the husband, her prayers for his life. There was only one way out. That Brinda must be made to move away from her vrata, from her vow of faithfulness to her husband. How a pativrata, the one who is devoted to the husband, even the devatas would tremble before her. She attained such power of the divine. One curse from her could destroy the whole cosmos. Such is the power and glory of a woman who is devoted, faithful to her husband. So the gods planned to trick her into moving away from her vow of purity. So they went and appealed to Mahavishnu, and Mahavishnu would not do such things at all. He is God. He is the sustainer of the world. He is also the sustainer of dharma. Now this man indulging in adharmic activities has to be killed for his own sake and for the sake of the world. So a greater dharma was demanding him to act. So he disguised himself as Jalandar and went to his wife, Jalandar's wife, Brinda. And of course Brinda was very innocent and she did not recognize Mahavishnu. She thought it was her husband, and she played her role as the wife, and that spoiled her purity. With the result, she lost her power, and it was easy for Lord Shiva to kill this Jalandar. Now why would the gods do this? It's an adharma. When a wife is devoted to the husband, the gods would bow before her generally, because the rule has been made by God himself. And why would he do it? Why would he violate it? Because, as always, as Bhagwan put it, before the greatest dharma, the other dharmas can be sacrificed. Now here, the welfare of the whole world counted so much. It did not matter if gods themselves violated a dharma that they had made, they had created. But when Vrinda came to know that this had happened, and none other than Mahavishnu himself, because she was a devotee of Lord Mahavishnu and she was doing puja every day. She was praying to him for the life of her husband. How could he do it to her? She was unable to bear it and she gave a curse, because of which Lord Mahavishnu turned into stone. He had to obey. He could have easily waived it, but then he had made this dharma and he had to obey. He could not violate this dharma. He was prepared for it. He turned into stone, and this stone is called Salagrama. It is fossilized ammonites. They are found in the Himalayas, especially in Gandaki River. There is a Damodar Kund and Chakratirth where one could find these stones, and they are divine, and they could be worshipped at home and in the temples. Now Mukti Nath is the place where Mahavishnu was freed from his curse. He became Mahavishnu once again. And so the belief, the faith is that whoever went there and worshipped this Mahavishnu there would also be liberated from the ocean of samsara, from the bondage of this worldly identity, from the ego. That is why mukti means liberation. So people would climb up this 12,300 feet just to worship Mahavishnu, so that liberation is assured to them. Because climbing up, traveling and then climbing up is itself a great tapas. It is atonement for all the sins that we have committed previously. And they would become free of them, and liberation would be assured. At the same time, the Buddhists worshipped Mahavishnu. They called him Padma Sambhava. In Hinduism itself, there is a concept that Buddha is an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. So the Buddhists also would come to the temple and offer their worship. And again, on the side of behind the temple, there are 108 bull heads, and through the mouth of this bull head, the water will spring forth. The waters come from the Gandaki River. And they all consider, both the Buddhists and the Hindus, consider it as a great act of merit if they took bath in that water. So you see, Bhagwan's devotee, Pankajam Das, there was a group of one Swamiji planning to go to Mukti Nath, and she wanted to join them. She wanted to visit the temple. She came to Sudama and begged Bhagwan for permission and blessings. And of course, Bhagwan blessed her nicely and said, Pankajam, if you feel, if there is any difficulty there in your travel, up there in the Himalayas, you can call out this beggar's name and my father would rush help you. So with this extraordinary blessing, he gave her permission and then they started. The initial travel was easy enough. They flew to Kathmandu and from Kathmandu to Pokhran. From Pokhran, by a taxi or some vehicle, they could come up to Jomsang. It is the foothill of this Mukti Nath mountain. The Mukti Nath mountain itself runs very high, up to 8,000 meters. And this Mukti Nath temple is situated at 3,750 meters, that is 12,300 feet nearly. There were a group of, I think 6 or 7 people, and all the others preferred to walk their way to Mukti Nath temple when Pankajam and Swamiji had to resort to a pony, a horse, and both of them started their journey. The others promised to join them at the temple. There was this boy, he was only 17 or so, a teenager, who was guiding them. He came with his horse, and Pankajam said, she was here yesterday, day before yesterday, and she told me the whole story. She said there was a huge bottle sticking out of his pocket, pant pocket, and every now and then he would be drinking from that. And whenever Pankajam gave him a stare, he would immediately offer it to her. Ma'am, please take it. You also take it. You can put up with this cold easily. And then she would hastily close her eyes. So it is blasphemy, taking. But in those regions, it was very common. That was their one way of fighting the cold. So it didn't matter as long as the man played his role as the guide. He guided them to the temple. They reached the temple in time. They offered their worship to Mahavishnu and Sri Devi, Saraswati, and then sprinkled water from those 108 bullheads, Dhara we call it, from which water springs forth, from Gandaki River. Now, they were staying in a hotel at Jomsang and they had to return the same night. They had booked it only for one night, one day and one night. And even 1 hour, half an hour late, they had to pay for the second day. It was very, very expensive in those places. So they wanted to return immediately. After worship, they looked for this boy who was their guide, but he was not to be seen anywhere. He was probably drunk, overdrunk, and was lying down somewhere, and they could not find him. Now Pankajam panicked. She did not know how to return without a guide. One could easily get lost in those regions. So she was very desperate, searching and searching, and the time was running out. And suddenly she remembered there was no way she could find out herself. And she remembered Bhagwan's words of assurance that if she called out, there would be help from Father. So immediately she started to shout, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, right across the whole valley. This Mukti Nath valley, her voice, Yogi Ramsuratkumar Nama, echoed and reverberated all over. She would have done it about 10 times, and suddenly a very majestic being appeared on a horse. He looked handsome and majestic, and every bit an authority in the place. He came near, he rode the horse and came near and wanted to know what help she needed. When she said the guide is missing and they had to return immediately to Pokhara, he whistled, and immediately, like magic, 6 horsemen appeared, horse riders, 6 of them, not just 1 or 2 or 3. She wondered how and where from they came. And then immediately he made all arrangements briskly. He sent 2 people to search for the guide, and the 4 other people led them on back to their hotel very safely and comfortably. And what was more, they found this man, this guide, who was overdrunk, so that they could pay this man for their upward journey. So Pankajam was very, very grateful to Bhagwan. Her eyes filled with tears when she thought, what could she have done but for the name? Had she not shouted this name across the valley, this help would not have come. And they would be stranded there, up there, 12,300 feet. And the whole trip would have become doubly expensive, which she could not afford. Apad Bandhava, they call it, Anatha Rakshaka, the protector of all the orphans, the rescuer from dangers. And when she came back and reported to Bhagwan how she received help, Bhagwan asked her to describe this majestic fellow who appeared all of a sudden on a horse. And it's only when she described, it struck her, it must have been Bhagwan himself, who came in the form of the horse rider and made all the arrangements for their safety, for their safe return. And of course, you can imagine, she melted and she had no words to thank him enough for all that. Often, we find ourselves deserted, stranded, and are unable to come out of these situations. Now you know what to do. If Bhagwan could appear high up there on the mountains of Himalayas, he is much more easily available in our houses. Right now, he is there in your drawing room. You are watching the shrine. So, all we have to do is call out, which costs nothing to us, and help is rushed to us immediately. It's a tapas to go all the way to a place like Mukti Nath, to have darshan of Lord Vishnu. It's fine. Because our mind is turned outward, visiting such kshetras, the holy places of worship. It constitutes a great tapas. But if we turn our mind inward, the Mukti Nath is right inside us. Raman Maharshi calls it spiritual heart. There is a place, the Upanishads say, from the Adam's apple and from the navel, the midpoint between the two. There is a flame, there is a lotus bud. We call it Hrudayam, we call it the spiritual heart. It's right in the middle. And it's glowing. It's brilliant, effulgent. It's in the form of a lotus bud hanging down, but it's made up of pure consciousness. It's a lotus of consciousness, and it's glowing brilliantly. A very tiny lotus bud. And inside is the Chitakash, Chit Akash. We know this physical Akash. We see it every day. There is Chit, a conscious space inside, the space of pure consciousness. And right in the middle of that is a flame, Agni. It's called the Pranagni. It's a flame, again made up of consciousness. It's very subtle. And this flame, right at the middle of this flame, is what we call the soul. And in the middle of the soul is Paramatma, the Supreme God. Just see how everything is safeguarded. Our vasanas also, that all those impressions that we have collected over birth after birth after birth, they're also safeguarded there. He is there, the Supreme God is there right inside us. This is the true Vaikuntha. This is the true Mukti Nath. This is the true Kailash. And it is closer to us than our own breath. If you could reach this place inside, instead of traveling several thousand miles, climbing several thousand feet, very difficult, no doubt. You have to do it inside. It's a journey inside. But how do we go about it? It is all dark inside. The minute you close your eyes, it's only darkness everywhere. So how could you make this journey, the inner journey? Tulsidas says in one of his dohas, when you light the lamp of Nama, the divine name, on your tongue, its light, its radiance fills up the whole inside. And the way is well lighted, clear, and the Nama takes you onward to this Vaikuntha inside. The place of Rama, the place of Hari, Sri Hari. So every Nama that we utter, remembering that Nama is nothing but Nami's presence, the divine, vibrant presence, with devotion, with love, with concentration, with faith. When we utter the Nama of the divine, it is making inroads into the depths of the soul. Every Nama pushes you onward towards this Mukti Nath inside, the place of liberation, the temple of liberation. According to Vaishnava faith, there are 108 holy places, places of inspiration. And this Mukti Nath is considered as one of them. There are 106 places which we can visit on the earth physically. There are 2 special places which are in the subtle level. The 108th place is right inside you. It is the subtlest, the highest, the holiest, and easiest to reach if you take the name of God. So let us all start our pilgrimage towards this Mukti Nath center, right inside us. Your every breath is rooted there. 21,600 times. Are you breathing? Are we breathing? Did we create this body? Why do we call it my body? I did nothing to create this body. And did I put the breath inside? No. It was already there, and the breathing is going on effortlessly. Nobody sits in one place and says, I'm going to breathe now. You're not even aware you are breathing. So your breath is sustained by the divine intelligence, the one that runs the whole cosmos with its infinite details. Now, this is our true home. You know, wherever you go, when you visit places, finally when you return home, you feel so much at peace. You feel the comfort of a real home. But our true home is right inside. The Mukti Nath inside is our true home. How much rest we would get there, how much peace, how much ananda. But we have to make this inward journey, for which we need to take a torch with us. We have to light up the whole place inside, and Nama is our divine companion, our guide. This guide will not indulge in drinks and disappear halfway. He will be with us all through the journey. With such care and concern and love, He will look after us and take us to the next step, and the next step, and the next step. So let us remember to visit this space inside, which is called the spiritual heart. Bhagwan calls it Atmaram. Papa Ramdas calls it Atmaram. Raman Maharshi calls it self. Whatever you call it, you can call it Vaikuntha, Kailash, Mukti Nath, Srirangam, whatever. We have to remember the name. That is the purpose of life. And Bhagwan has often said, not a single Nama goes waste. Every Nama does its transforming work. Every Nama takes you one step ahead in your inward journey and is fruitful. So let us resort to chanting the name with faith and prayer and continue our inner journey, because the goal of life is only God. The goal of life is remembrance of God. God has given you this body, created this body just for that. God has put the breath inside you, made you alive. Only for this purpose. God has given the life that you live, moment to moment to moment. Only for this purpose. So, this Bhagwan, our Mukti Nath, the one who will give us liberation from the tyranny of the ego, It is the ego which puts on this false identity that I am the body, I am so-and-so, and is reacting all the time to situations and people, and getting tired in the process. So, the only way out of the suffering is Bhagwan's Nama, and we shall submit our today's prayers, first of all to liberate us from the present situation, and then to liberate us from the clutches of the ego. Bhagwan, we seek a huge grace from you. We seek your compassionate glance, one glance from you upon us would liberate us from the present situation. Kindly intervene and free the entire humanity from the clutches of this tiny Jalandar virus, and bring back normalcy, adharmic normalcy in every aspect of life, everywhere in the world. Please uproot this panic from the hearts of people and stop the spread of the disease. Enter the vaccine, the medicine, so that it becomes potent and kills the virus without any side effects. And we beg you again to see to it that it reaches people who deserve it, who need it very badly. And Bhagwan, all those great people who are working in that field, despite the challenges and the difficulties, at the very risk of their life, please give them protection and all-round welfare. And we seek your special blessing for a boost to the falling economy. And above all, again and again, let us become aware of this inner journey, the inner pilgrimage to our true home, to the true Vaikuntha, to the true Kailash, the true Divya Desa inside. But we need to be well equipped for that. And that can happen only by your grace, the constant remembrance of your name, and the right attitude, the attitude of being an instrument in your hands, that we are being guided by you all the time to our ultimate destination. We seek this blessing again and again. Jai Yogi Ramsuratkumar.